you can start idolizing what you really are, and who you are. Because like you can tend to times to idolize different things, and you can idolize different food, other sculptures, but sometimes ourselves is what we leave, and to idolize and opening the door to where you can idolize yourself, that's a major step. And so, all these entertainers and artists are unique because they engage in music that connects with different people. A music that connects with different people sometimes help people, not only adults, but everyone who are able to understand and connect to a certain vibes, a certain kind of music, and they can connect to that, and that can be their therapy. Like a lot of kids grew up, and a lot of us grew up with a certain kind of music, with a certain kind of song, with a certain kind of artist, and we just go to that artist for whatever, and it's so amazing that that artist went through that lifestyle and that struggle. So in the bits in the song, in one song that an artist can sing and perform, out of 1,000 people, few can connect with the first verse, few can just connect with the chorus, few can connect with the middle verse, and then a few can connect with the third verse. So all in that one song, out of the thousands of people that's there, can connect to one song, and in different, and all of it is completely different. It's different stage, it's different stage of the song, but what's most important is them connecting to it, and it becomes a therapy for a lot of people, and it becomes a therapy for a lot of people, and at the same time it can bring quiet and peace to your parents at home, because once you're stuck inside your room, whatever, listening to music, they get the time to that where they can just hang out, complete their chores, or do whatever they have to do. So as you can see, it can help in different stages for many people. Some people at a time where they get to life where they can just black everything else out and just like focus so much on the music and focus on what it's delivering to them. So like, but for me, it's interesting, it's amazing that you have one song that millions of people can connect to, and millions of them just connect to different parts of the song, different parts of the third, maybe the first verse. You never know. It happens like that sometimes. Who was your artist? Who did you look forward to get you out of bad moods? Who did you look forward to get to, I don't want to even say bad moods, but to change your feelings, to change your thoughts at times when you're at a certain place. So it's like that though. It's making a connection, and is this connection, what is it? This connection takes, so now you're making a connection with something that someone spend a lot of time practicing repetitive times somewhere, practicing, and just keep practicing. So for us there, in for millions of us that used to, for millions of people across the world in different stage and different era, they have their own songs and they have their own music they listen to. And when I say, look at Bob, man, Bob not only touched Jamaican lives, but Bob touched a lot of lives around the world, and the words that he the word that he put out, I could remember when he says we're coming in from the cold. When he say those words, we're coming in, we're coming in, oh man, that just really, we're coming in that song where he sings that, that's just, that takes me to where I look at all the other peoples that here and that come here and go home back to their family at some point where they say we're coming in from the cold. So I could connect with that, and that what I'm saying, like in a song, millions can connect with different stages of the song. Some can connect with just the chorus, and that connects to their life, and so the song becomes their favorite song because it's connected with their life. But this is just the chorus, and then when it comes on to the first verse, that's kind of describe the song a little bit. Some people can connect with that, and then once some people connect with that, then the third verse, some people connect with that. So in this one song, you have millions of people connecting to it in different stages of the song. So when Bob do the song, I'm coming in from the cold, that's a song that's just the chorus that the world can communicate with, can connect with, if somehow it's understood, and if it's understood. If it was singing every different language, it would be something special. It is special, but if it could be sung in every language, because every language is here, and every language would understand that what he's saying is we're coming in from the cold. We venture out, we did some work, we did some kind of investing, we carry a family, we build wealth, we did all of these things, and you could say they could understand, and we could understand, and everyone could understand a whole. I Shot the Sheriff was a good song, but they understand that because of that, what it's like for that. And when he said no woman to cry, look, he connects it with women not crying. So you see, in that song, ladies could connect to that song, so everyone would connect with that song in a different way. So when he said coming in from the cold, the world could connect with that, because the world come here and come visit, and then the world goes back home, so they're exiting when they're coming in from the cold. So it's one of those things, we're touching some serious topics today, and I just want to say, if you're out there, you'll be a part of this. I'm grateful for everyone who supports the stream and this channel. So we were talking about music and the different, how we connect our life with it, and it's a therapy for a lot of people. And it's challenging, because sometimes when you try to connect with different, some people try to connect with parents, they try to connect with their mom or their dad, or they connect with their brother, and sometimes when they can't connect with nothing, music is where they go find their connection. Music is where they go find love. Music is where they go find their passion. Music is where they go find peace. Music becomes a filter for their trials, for their growth, for their everyday process of life. They turn to music to enlighten them, to have something to help them get over challenging times. Maybe just one or two lyrics in the song, maybe 4 or 5 sentences in the song that makes sense to them, and that will carry someone possible to a month, to a lifetime. That will that will can bring that can carry someone to a lifetime. And when I say a lifetime, you might say what I'm talking about. Sometimes when you're kids and you're riding with your mom or your dad, I'm pretty sure the songs that and the music that I listen to, sometimes you find yourself to listening to that or something similar to that. It's kind of like, you know what? It's sometimes it's kind of like when people, when it comes on to food, when it comes on to a certain kind of, when it comes on to a certain kind of doctrine, when it comes on to certain kind of relationship, when it comes on to many different aspects of life, they can somehow connect to that because that's the way it's kind of been with their growing and with their growing. You know, if that's how they grew up. So, for instance, your parents listened to the Beatles. You probably grew up listening to the Beatles. You might branch off a little bit and listen to something else. If your parents grew up listening to, I don't know, Red Hot Chili Peppers, if you start listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers too. If you grew up listening to, say you like heavy metal, if Rob Zombie, I don't know, Disturb, I don't know, whatever is it that you sometimes your parents you listen to in the car, I don't know, Three Doors Down could be, I don't know, if you're more on the love side, you can have the pop, the different artists that's on the pop side, but whatever that you found yourself parents listen to, sometimes that what you listen to too, and and from that you get your inspiration. So that from that, because that becomes a part of your culture too. That music and that song that your mom would sing 1,000 times that you would not like to hear possible, but sometimes somewhere down the line you start liking it and you start listening to it and you start understanding it. So it's vice versa for a daughter that grew up with her dad. It's kind of like the same thing, whatever the dad would enjoy doing, sometimes the daughter sometimes find that becomes a part of her. When who was it? I'm not so sure if I'll use Kathy as an example, where I think her dad was in a part of the Air Force, and so she become an iconic person in the fight as in the field, where she tried to capitalize on the strength that she had from her dad, that courage, that strength, and whatever she had discovered, whatever the journey that he had possibly been on, and she had seen that journey too. She probably got some of that courage from him. She probably got some of that fight from him. She got some of that, keep going, in a different world, no matter what it is. So as an example, it's based on the different things that your parents do that becomes a part of your culture. And like I said, some people use music as inspiration a lot of time, and it's I want to say it helps. It helps. It's like when I say, it helps when you fill the gap for, certain things. It's like it fills a gap for certain things that is missing. So what is missing, or, for what else could, for what else could be in place? What else could be in place? What else would be there to support you while you're trying to answer the question within yourself of who you are, or what you want to be, or what you're going to become, And so, yes, it does play a role in, your development and in our culture. Like, it's a part of Well, because I'm pretty sure if you grew up listening to not only the Beatles but Bob also, does that assist in your culture? Does that shape you in some way? I'm pretty sure it does. It possibly does. You possibly are shaped in a certain way. You probably can relate to something when you, I say, for instance, your parents listen to Bob. They probably learned some stuff about his growing up and his who he is. You in the car listening to it over 300 times till you don't really want to hear it as a kid, possible. But at the same time, your parents will discover a few things, logic stuff about the artist or the entertainer that they listen to, and so they will use few of those words or terms or history of that entertainer or that artist that they listen to at times, and then those would be few words that you will eventually hear, and you will eventually use those words of motivation or words of strength or words of encouragement from what your parents had said, from the music that they had listened to, which you will end up at some point find yourself possible saying or listen to these same music or songs. Like when your kids are in the back of the car riding with you, they have absolutely nothing to really think about but to view what and where you're going and what you're doing. The minutes they sit down in the back of the car, they start absorbing everything that is being displayed on both either side of the vehicle or in front. So at the same time, your attention is on the road to stay in focus there. So it tends to not focus so much on what they're thinking or what they're doing, but you tend to stay focused on where you're going and what the accomplishment is going to be for the day, for that task at that very minute. So it does go as far as what your parents listen to. It also cultivate, and it's a small patch. It's just a small patch of it's a small patch of your character. Let's put it like that. It's a small patch of your character. The music that they listen to, it's a part of your culture, but it's a small patch that's also build and create your character and who you are. But like I said, this is Freshly Design 360. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being a part of this. Man, we had some fire topics that we had talked about, the different states that could monitor their own progress. That was really interesting to me. I mean, like I touched on California, because California is like 20% of the dairy, like milk and stuff, and for the nation, supply the nation with 20% of milk. Now, one state that possible can possibly help themselves in staying Idaho. Idaho has the most potatoes that service the whole. I've not got the stats on how much, but we're talking about the different states that is self-sufficient, that can really hold their own. And for instance, when such a thing like a pandemic would happen, there's few states who would be first to collapse, because when you look at the economy, and when you think about their economy, when you think about what do they have to support and how much, it's kind of like what they have in resource, and how long will the resource last. Potatoes can last a long time. When I say last a long time, meaning you still have more to sell in the long run. So in these different areas, which in the few states that you think would be okay, we're self-sufficient, we can manage to hold out for a certain period of time, for a certain length of time. These are really important because, like I said, the pandemic was just an eye opener. It was just such an eye opener for all of us to look and see. You know what it was? It was an eye opener to see your weak spot, to see possible how your weak spot. What was your weak spot? Where were you? How was it? That was it. It was your weak spot. It was to see where your strength and where your weakness possible, and not just, like in your community, if that would make sense. Like in your budget as people, because you cannot say the government only. You have to be like, you are the government, so you be like, okay, how was I in this? How could I be better in this situation if it doesn't even happen again? Like, how can I be better in this situation? How can I do best in this situation? And I was wanting to touch. I'll get back to that topic in a minute, but I wanted to touch on the topic. The topic is like, okay, it's almost when the growth of the growth of credit and loan. So that's kind of challenging, because, for instance, if you grew up not understanding how loans work, it's challenging. If you don't grow up, because there's a certain percentage of the family of people and family members within your state, and your friend next door, they grew up in a certain way, not understanding the money segment of borrowing a loan and not borrowing a loan, and try and avoid from it being debt. And the more you listen to that, the more you understand that, okay, there's still people, there's still family members that cannot understand the fact that sometimes debt is a good thing, and you have to know how to balance it. But it's a it's a subject, and it's a topic that if you don't grow up understanding the culture of borrowing and lending, the first thing you try to do, or the first thing tends to happen is people would avoid it, and sometimes it's necessary, but you have to understand how you're playing it. So you have to know the culture of how to borrow something, and then how it works, and how it works in your favor. But anyway, but I think coming to some places, some areas, that's a patch that's very unstable in how a lot of the character is for a lot of people, and not knowing how it works or the culture of it end up putting a barrier of achieving certain success. Because if you didn't grow up understanding how if you didn't grow up understanding how how the credit works and how loan works, then it does play a role and a patch in part of our and you and mine, But as you grow, you understand it, and if you open the door, if you open the door to understand that it's there, it's just a thing that you really have to try and understand and find out how it works and the balance, how it goes. But back to the different states. But what other state would you think would be self-reliant? Like I said, possible Idaho. You'd have to check into that to see more, get more clarity. That definitely probably Texas, but you have to. There's the population there. It's humongous though, so you still have to check. Just for educational purpose, not just like I said. Maybe it can you can learn some, or you can understand something more from it. I don't know. You trying to get a hold of that to see, which would be self-sufficient for you. What your thoughts would be on this topic. How would you how would you go about it? How would you go about understanding the different states that would be self-sufficient? How would you go about this? How would you? I pick out three. Do you think there is more states out there that could be self-sufficient, that could possible, is rich? It's not a negative thing. It's a good thing. Which is rich in their own way. Culture possible, and different products, different service, and each states have their different service and have their different products, their different goal, their different pillar of finance, it's not like, okay, some places depends on different things. Some places possibly depends on the weather for creating and building a steady, cash flow, whatever it is. Some state probably depend on, different resource such as aluminum. Some probably depend on, wood. Some depends on probably, different factors in the environment, for them to capitalize, So now I'm saying this subject and this topic, my question to you is, does it point you in a direction to ask yourself, wherever you're living, like, man, how is where I'm at? Is where I'm at self-sufficient? How long could this be? How long could we survive if there was something? What would be our pillar of survival here if everything should go, or some of that sort, or how can we capitalize on this more to bring more to your state? What I mean? What it is that you're good at, or we're good at, or whatever way you could see it, that could be more productive, and you could somehow, because if California do 20% of the milk, the nation milk, 20% of the nation milks, that's fireworks. That is, come on, man, that is seriously right there. That is seriously happening. That 20%, come on. And when you put not only milk out there for California, but when you put avocado out there, and when you put the medicine out there from cannabis, that's put it in a bracket. That puts it in a bracket where it has something to to balance out their it's funny. It's kind of like a ETF, in it, in a weird way. It's kind of like an ETF where you got we have, that's good. You have three things that you think can monitor your community, three pillars that can of service and products that you can use. And these products are indigenous. You make it indigenous to the area. Because, for instance, farming, you make that indigenous to your area. You make that indigenous to there. So that's the next good one. And then when it comes on to the cannabis and the medicine, you make that indigenous to the earth too. So those are not supported just by tourism. Those are not just supported by import. When you have to import something and store it to make it a pillar, then it's so harder for you to capitalize on the finance part, and it's a more challenging situation in that for you to capitalize financially, but if it's indigenous to the area, if you can make it